What's up, everybody? I'm Mr. Second Passport. Today I'm going to share the real and main reason why I chose to invest in Spain, in Spanish real estate. So it's not like I go around the world wanting to buy different real estate in different countries, complicating my life more, or just for the sheer fact of saying, right, that I have property in these different countries. I'm not really interested in that. I would prefer actually not to. But these last couple years, in the markets that I follow here in Ecuador and the Western U.S. and the Eastern U.S., two markets there, specific markets in the U.S., I just haven't had any opportunities to do much buying at all. So that's kind of what's forced me to go out and look for maybe another market, a third market, or that I could learn. And I have been studying it on my own for several months now, and see if maybe I can get some better returns. Up until about 2 months ago, I rented a condo right on Carolina Park in central Quito, north central Quito, and the purchase price that the owner would ask in that tower, because I talked to the building administrator and I also called on a few that were for sale, similar to the one I was renting. They're all asking about $120,000 for like a 75, 80 square meter newer construction place right near the park. And I was paying $500 a month rent, but I knew the owner had to pay $100 or so every month in association dues. Bring generally the net operating income, because all the utilities and everything fell on me, the renter, so she didn't have to pay that, the owner. Came to a cap rate, right, or a return on investment for her annually of a measly 4%. Now, why do I say measly, and why do I say that most Ecuador real estate just doesn't make sense to buy? And I often tell people, and I can see the gloom on their face when I tell them to just rent when you're coming to Ecuador. It just makes more sense mathematically. For example, the risk-free rate, or the rate that you put money, you can deposit money in a bank here, insured, in a CD, 1 year type deal. It starts around 9%. Plus, you're locking in that money because Ecuador is so illiquid, just lacks liquidity. It can be really, really hard to sell, especially higher priced properties. So it's like, why would you do it? And now, like this new house that I rented in the valleys of Quito, kind of near the Cumbaya Valley off to the side. This house is currently for sale, but she might sell it in a year, 2, 5 years from now, maybe 100 years. I don't know. But she's asking $130,000 to give you an idea, and I'm renting for $550. Okay, minus the $100 association dues that I know she pays. That's included in the rent. So about a $450 take home for her monthly, because I as well have to pay all the utilities and internet. That's a return of about 4.15% for the owner of this place where I'm living. Does it make sense? Not really. But now let's go to some markets I know in the U.S. where I own property, like Big Sky, Montana. Beautiful place to ski. One little condo in this base area here. The cheapest you're gonna find, because I happen to own in there, is around $400,000. Now this one is a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, asking $485 right now. Now it's come down about $100,000 since the Fed started raising rates over the last few months. Something like that in Big Sky, a mini market that I follow in the U.S. Maybe you could get it for around 400 grand, negotiating a bit. And I know that after you pay in the U.S., there's a problem with ownership, and that is, there's a lot of litigation you have to watch out for, so that's kind of a pain. But besides that, the other problems with investing in the U.S. is the really high property taxes and insurance you often have to pay. Takes out a large cut of your cash flow every month. So, like, if we look at my tax bill for Montana, you can see my total bill for the year was around $1,300. So about $100 a month for the taxes. You're looking at association dues of about $200 a month for a place like that. I know, because I know the area. About $100 a month for internet, because there's only one provider and it's super expensive. $95 or so. They kind of have a monopoly on the area. It really sucks. like $250, give or take, on all the utilities you'd have to pay if you rented this out short term, like via Airbnb, like most people do in this area because it's kind of a resort town. The insurance is cheaper for a condo, obviously, but it would be around $50 a month if it's similar to mine. And that would give you about $700 in monthly expenses for like a short-term rental. Assuming you're short-term renting it, and some months are better than others. It's seasonal in this particular place that I know really well. So averaged out over the whole year, you could probably take home you'd probably make $2,500 a month minus the $700 in expenses. So you're looking at around $1,800 a month in NOI, net operating income, which would give you a cap rate right now if you were to purchase one anew and start around 5.4%. Again, not very inspiring as well. Now, I have a little tiny dinky house where I'm from originally, Cleveland, Ohio, and the cap rates back east, or at least in the Midwest, like an area like Cleveland that I follow, are slightly better because the property purchase price for one is a lot less, and obviously you can ask less for rent, but it's still a better return than you can get right now in the market I follow out west, the one I just showed you in Big Sky. But it's still only 8, 9, maybe 10%. But if we look at the Spanish property that I've already signed the promise of sale, so to speak. Over there they call it contrato de arras, right? Like literally, like they claw you in, and left a small deposit. So I still have to go, and if you're interested, follow this channel. I'll share you. I'll fill you in with all the positives and negatives as I go. After the exchange rate, so the 32,000 euro house only cost me 31,000, right? So 31,000, and based on information I got locally from a neutral friend that I have in the area, I could rent something like that with very little fixing up for around 600 euros a month long term, right? Long term. Now, that's even a lowball figure. I may be able to get 650 or even 700, but we'll just say 600 for this exercise. And if I did rent at that amount, and the annual property taxes over there are very low comparatively to the U.S., almost a non-cost. Obviously, income taxes are quite high, but property taxes are quite low, so a big positive to owning over there. And that would give me a rough return, because the long-term renter would pay for all the utilities as well. Like, that's how it works over there, so I'm told, of around 23.2% annually. But if I were to turn around and furnish the house and put it on a short-term rental platform like Airbnb, like I do here in Ecuador and in the U.S., the return, the average nightly rate for this area is $98, which is about double the nightly rate for the bigger cities in Ecuador. And the average occupancy is pretty similar, actually, in this town to what you'd get in the big cities in Ecuador, around 45% occupancy with an average monthly revenue of $1,000 a month. So if I were to rent this short term and just get the average revenue, according to airdna.com, then my return would be something more like 38.7% annualized. Things could change, especially as rates rise, but that's why I thought about going over there and investing, because I see an opportunity to make a better return, significantly better than if I were to invest the same money right now in the 2 or 3 markets I know well, Ecuador and the eastern or western U.S.